I continue to forget my readers. I'm new to glasses, so I have to remember that I can't see sometimes. All right, I think we are ready to go here, and here we go. Hello and welcome to Morning Fuel. I am your host, John Bundy, and you are here because you believe in the power of the spoken word and its ability to change lives, and that by sharing our stories, we can help others to overcome challenges that they cannot overcome on their own. Whether it's a victory you need to win in business or in your own personal life, you understand that the answers can be found in listening to others who are willing to share their stories, knowing that their story ultimately doesn't belong to them. All right, today's guest, seeing that many local women think that abortion is the only way out of an unwanted pregnancy, his organization provides the help and hope they need to choose life for their baby. When asked what his favorite thing about his ministry is, he replied, "Seeing my incredibly gifted staff speak life and truth into the lives of local women, watching them minister is like watching an artist paint a masterpiece." When I inquired about his methods for keeping productive, he offered these bits of wisdom. "I have daily planner derived from my life plan. As part of it, I read my own obituary every morning and work backwards from there. The book Atomic Habits gave me some great techniques I still use today as well." His advice to those aspiring to succeed as a business owner or minister: go work for a talented leader, take copious notes, save money to mitigate risks, then do your own thing. Please join me in welcoming to the Morning Fuel podcast family, Executive Director of Net Peninsula, Ryan Holloway. Really good to see you, dude.
Great to see you.
Excited about this interview. So one of the things I like, again, we talk about this often, and that is kind of the origin story. What is it that got you into this line of work?
Well, my own origin story, in terms of how I got connected to carenet, is that I went to a banquet a number of years ago, and so one of carenet's fundraisers is that they have a big fundraising gala every fall, and
Okay.
so I've been a donor for a while, and I was personal friends with the board chair for a time. And so I also have worked in Christian ministry and in nonprofits for a number of years. And so I met with the past board chair, and I thought maybe he was going to ask me. We had talked about nonprofits and stuff in the past, so I thought maybe he was interested in me serving with them on the board. But it turns out that they needed an executive director, and that was right around the time, you might recall, it's a morbid thing, but if you recall all of those expose videos that were coming out about Planned Parenthood and
Sure.
baby parts, and it was a really grotesque reality that was being laid bare. And so it also came out at a time when I was in particularly disgusted with what I was seeing in this area. And man, God put all that together, and now here I am.
Wow. Okay. So I'm sure that you've been touched by this in other ways too. I mean, I think each one of us knows some folks who have been through the choices of making that choice for or against abortion in their own lives. I think everyone's been touched by those decisions. So this is really intriguing to me. I've heard about this before. I believe my pastor even does this, and the scripture that he quotes is, consider my days, O Lord. Oh gosh, how did it exactly go? But it was talking about numbering your days, counting your days. And you talk about reading your own obituary in the morning, or good night. What in the world? Talk to us about that.
Well, I'll tell you. Did you know Steve Ward?
Name sounds familiar.
He was the owner of Eastern Floor Company,
yes.
Longtime local businessman, and very sadly just passed away, too young. And so I was at his funeral recently. And I'll tell you, I actually texted my friends after that, and I said, you know what, new rule, we need to go to a funeral every year.
Oh, wow.
As a reminder that one day a bunch of people are going to get in a room, and they're going to say what they thought of me. And they're either going to lie, or there's not going to be anybody in the room.
Right.
And so I say that to say that the more that I think about legacy and the kind of family I want to lead, the impact I want to make through my church and on the peninsula, Well, I mean, an obituary is sort of a few paragraphs where you put all that and put pen to paper. And so I do that as an exercise, not in sort of some sick obsession with my own mortality, but that the reality that at some time in the future, the story of my life is going to be told. And if I can work backwards, if I can get a vision from that, then it maybe gives some clarity and purpose and meaning to the humdrum of daily life.
Right. Now,
that's why I do that.
I'm remembering the scripture now, and it is, teach me to number my days aright. So kind of like counting your days, the days that you have left. Yeah, wow. So, I mean, that's got to be sobering. And then, of course, you're writing your obituary as to what you would like people to say about you.
When I wrote it, I cried. I remember working on this exercise about 2 years ago now, and it was emotional for me.
Emotional in a way of, wow, I've got a lot that I need to live up to or work on, or what?
Well, no, just emotional. I don't know. When I start thinking about what my family's going to think of me 50 years from now or 20 years from now, who knows how long. I mean, that makes you think, when you start thinking, what do I want my daughter to say about me 20 years from now? I mean, if you don't get emotional about that, then, you got some other things you might want to work out too. So, it's not like I start my day off with my morning cry. So it's not like that, but it does put into perspective, the minor tasks that I might not see a lot of purpose in today. Well, if that has a purpose in the context of my year goals and my 5-year goals and my 10-year goals, which is all really part of what I believe God has called me to as a purpose in my whole life, that makes the day-to-day work a little bit easier, a little bit more clear.
Right.
That's important for me. My personality type is, if I'm prone to anything, it's discontentment and sort of boredom. And so this gives meaning to me every single day, and reminds me that the good work that I'm called to, whether it's in my family, at church, or at work, is part of a bigger thing that a life that God has given me to lead. So.
Right. Fantastic. Now, you married with children, or?
Yeah, I have 4 kids, and so never a dull moment at the Holloway house.
So what, you one a year after high school? I mean, how old are you, man?
Wouldn't that be good? I am 36.
Okay,
so
gotcha. Yeah, you haven't even reached, like your prime yet, man. I mean,
I think I got a gray hair the other day. My wife wouldn't like to admit that she's a little further along that journey than I am, but. Yeah, we got married fairly young. I knew my wife in high school.
Okay.
And then we got married right after college.
Okay. Now, are you from this area?
I am. So I graduated from Poquoson High School in 2003. Okay.
Yeah, you can't get more from this area than Poquoson.
That's right.
Really.
I live back there again.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. Not in your childhood home.
No, but one of my closest friends lives right down the street from my childhood home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Very, very cool. So, talk to us about, this book club that I don't know. Did you start it or you joined it? What, about 5 years ago?
So it's maybe one day it'll be more formal and more important than I sound, but it has had an impact on my life. So it's hard to believe it's been 4 or 5 years now, but. One of my friends and I, who's actually the chair now, he's the volunteer chair for CareNet. His name is Garrett Maroon. And so he and I have been friends for a number of years. And he said, look, you're a guy that I think likes to learn, and I want to read books and talk about them. So we started doing 2 a month with me and 3 other, me, Garrett, and 2 other young business leaders. The group has since turned over. But 4 years in, reading at least a book a month, you learn a thing or two.
Right.
So it's always nonfiction books on parenting or on the Christian life, on business, and some of these books have really impacted my life. And if nothing else, the conversations that those have led to, the as we talk about our struggles, the applications of different challenges and things we read about. So it's a group of young leaders like me just trying to make sense of what to do with our life and the responsibility we have. Sometimes, if not most of the time, I've had, this was my first time in an executive leadership role at CareNet. And I remember we were all talking about a problem once in the whole team. And then everybody turned and they looked at me. And I thought, well, I guess I guess I'm the one that has to figure out what to do here.
Right.
And so, man, I needed to have something to say. So if anything, this gives me at least some books and some guidance like that. Help me know what to say.
Right, absolutely. I mean, the wisdom that we glean from people that are so much smarter than we are, or have been places that we haven't, that's fantastic. I mean, that's over 50 books in 4 years, right?
Yeah, easily.
Fantastic. So speaking of that, I love to read. I feel recently I haven't had the time that I wanted to, and reading books, you have to really make that time. Do you have one book that, aside from the Bible, one book that you would say is one that you revisit?
A book that I revisit. I've read the book E-Myth. It's called E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
So I've read that book several times.
Yeah. That's a great one.
If I
actually
give you just one, I'll give you that one.
I found the original of that one. I was told that I needed to find the original, and I bought it, and it was a well-worn copy of his original book before the revisited.
Gerber? Is that his name? Michael Gerber?
Amazing. I love the stories that he tells in there of experiences that he'd had. And it's about hospitality, right? It's about the reason why people do business with you.
You know, when a book really hits me, and I think, man, I still remember applications and points. It's usually a book where I am facing a problem in my life at that moment, and I think I have no idea how to handle this, and then somebody gives me a reference,
right,
and then I'm actually learning and applying it. And so I happened to read that book the first time right when I needed it. It was the direct application of something that was happening in my life.
Fantastic.
So I feel like it really came in at a key time.
Very cool. So the Bible, very important in our lives as believers.
Read that
right?
one too sometimes.
Sometimes, right? Do you have a favorite book of the Bible?
Probably Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of back and forth about life, isn't it?
It is. Maybe the
kind of like an obituary.
A little bit, right? I would say that for a good part of my life, if not my 20s, you might say, I was on a journey to try and understand calling and purpose and meaning, and I've always enjoyed thinking about those things. And
sure.
Isn't it funny, John, how you read some books and you think they're new ideas until you read things written a long time ago, and you realize, maybe this guy just rewrote Ecclesiastes. Right. And so Ecclesiastes is, an original source of all sorts of compelling and interesting ideas about what to do in this life that God has given us and where purpose and meaning can be found. So. Yeah,
very good. Very good. Now, you said that in the questions that I sent you, one of the answers was that you used to live in the Dominican Republic and that you speak Spanish fluently.
I do. You want to do it in Espanol?
Una cerveza, por favor.
Well, that'll get you pretty far.
I mean, I could find beer and I could find the bathroom if I go someplace.
Well, they're connected.
Yeah, right. Talk to us about that. I mean, what was this?
So I graduated from James Madison, and I had learned of a concept called microfinance. And microfinance, in a nutshell, is this idea, usually in third world countries, where institutions, organizations will lend money to help typically women, but not always women, small amounts of money help them start small businesses. So capital, the credit ranking system that we have, when that doesn't exist, it makes it really hard for in particular poor entrepreneurs that don't have a lot to offer in terms of collateral. When nothing is known about you, they typically have no access to credit. So microfinance was this idea that would help people in these positions start small businesses out of their house with, it's a whole concept there. Well, long story short, this Christian ministry in the Dominican Republic that I connected with, I wanted me to start a microfinance arm for their organization. So that's what I did. So I graduated from JMU, and my wife and I got married. And then in 2008, we moved to Jarabacoa, Dominican Republic, which is right in the mountains in the center of the country. And I came with a Word document. And that was the plan to how to launch microfinance for this ministry. And so it was a journey. But it was awesome, and
now,
it's grown.
Have you taken Spanish like through high school and then into college, or
well, I took it in high school. If I don't know if she remembered me, but oddly enough, I wasn't always the best student, at least in terms of behavior. and I saw my Spanish teacher. She's a donor here, and she came in with her church group. They had done something in their small group. I didn't know if she remembered me or not. But if I had started speaking to her in Spanish, her jaw would have dropped. She would have said, "Not the Ryan I remember."
Right. I got you.
So we actually learned in Guatemala. We did an intensive 2 months in Guatemala, and then moved to the Dominican. And then it was probably at least a year. And we were there 4.
And then you're thrown into the fire, right?
Yeah.
You got to understand it. You got to be able to communicate it.
And we were out in the campo. So we were not at a, they don't speak as clearly.
Sure.
The more
you
rural
got different dialects too, right?
Definitely so. So I used to say that Dominicans look at me funny when I first got there because they couldn't understand what I was saying. And then at the end, they would look at me funny because they didn't understand how I talked exactly like a campesino, and I was white as the day is long. So
right. Wow, that's cool. Wow, man, that's amazing. So how long were you there in total?
In total, I was there for 4 years, and I actually stayed connected with the ministry. The organization is in other countries as well, and I've helped and consulted with them and still do to this day. But I've gotten to return a number of times to the Dominican. They took this concept of microfinance, which I didn't invent the concept, but as an arm of this ministry, now they do it in all of their countries. So I helped them launch that.
Yeah.
The ministry still goes on today. I don't know who knows how many businesses they've launched in their 10 plus year history. Probably close to 1,000.
What would be an example of a business like that an entrepreneur from that area would start?
So the borrowers were typically women, and they were typically doing things out of their home. So everything from what they'd call a salon de belleza, which is like a beauty salon, or I helped a woman buy chickens, and she would process chickens and sell chickens to the local, they call them colmados, the little corner stores.
Okay.
Pigs. So a couple of agricultural loans over the years. There's some people would go to the city and buy. You can get these packs of. If you ever wonder where all your donated clothes go, or the clothes for the losing Super Bowl team, that they end up in foreign countries, and they buy them in bulk, and then they go sell them. So sometimes we'd fund the purchase of those things.
Then you see a TikTok for a team that didn't win the Super Bowl, except there it is. Right?
There it is, and you can probably buy that T-shirt a couple months later. That's
hilarious, man. Well, before I ask you my last question, how can people reach out to you?
Well, so we've talked a little bit about CareNet. I'm the director of CareNet, and so Ryan at cmpeninsula.org is my email. But if you go to the CareNet website, you'll find my profile there, and certainly that's a great way to connect with me.
Right. Now, I know we didn't cover much about CareNet, but folks getting to know you as the executive director of any business, and then hearing that it is CareNet and what CareNet does, we tend to do business and go and do business with people that we like and we trust.
That's right.
So getting to know the person behind that, I think, is of utmost importance. That's
one of the truisms about fundraising, actually.
Absolutely.
That's why you ask volunteers to ask their friends to get involved with things, because they say, well, no one's paying John to give, and he's invited me to come and give with him. That goes a long way in the fundraising world.
Yeah. Well, folks learn a little bit about what CareNet does today, and then they learn a lot about you. So then the trust is there. The last question is, what do you, as an executive, Ryan Holloway, as an executive of CareNet Peninsula, and what does CareNet Peninsula need most right now?
So what do I need most?
What do you need most, and what does CareNet need most right now?
Well, I would say what I need most is probably clarity as we make some key decisions. One reality about the unplanned pregnancy industry, if you would call it that, is that it is shifting sands by the day. So one of our biggest competitors in the ministry right now, it was illegal to do what they're doing 1 year ago. It was against the law. So I say that to say that we are at a position where we've grown a lot, and we're having success, but things have completely changed, and they're changing by the month. So that puts us in the difficult position that organizations often find themselves in, which is that what might work today may not work tomorrow.
Sure.
And so I'm on a constant search for clarity about trying to see around corners with that and see what it is that we can do to adapt along with that. And so that relates to what the ministry most needs. Certainly we can always use volunteers and people. We charge nothing for our services, so people like you and your listeners that contribute to CareNet pay all the bills. So we're always excited to have people join the CareNet family and support the ministry in those ways. But certainly, prayer and vision for this ministry as we think about how to expand. We've filled our space, so we're possibly looking to continue to grow and serve as many moms and babies on the peninsula as we can.
Right. Wonderful. Ryan, really great to meet you. A pleasure. Look forward to supporting and praying for the ministry, and then also our listeners as well, doing the same. So for volunteers, would volunteers go to the CareNet Peninsula website, or what is the best way for somebody to volunteer?
If you go to cmpeninsula.org/volunteer, it has all the different roles that we have, a description, and the opportunity to apply to each one. Now,
since of course Facebook is still a major player, and I know a lot of folks, it's almost like you don't want to, but you have to. Do you have a Facebook page that folks can reach out?
We love Facebook.
Okay,
we have a very engaged Facebook community.
Okay.
If we are in need of diapers and we post it on Facebook, the diapers show up at our door the next day. It's incredible. Great. So certainly we're active on Facebook and on Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, sir, great to meet you, and look forward to seeing what God does with CareNet.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.